was the summer of 2014, and for my son's bar mitzvah present, just like many Jewish parents, we wanted him to bond with the Holy Land. Oh, it worked perhaps too well. My husband had stayed back at the hotel, and our friends, my son and I, had just stopped in a pharmacy.
Run to the bomb shelter, sweetie. Please hurry. I didn't hear the sirens at first, but the Israelis did. They're used to hearing these things. We ran to the back of the storeroom. It was a 12-foot by 24-foot windowless bomb shelter. My heart's pounding. Boom! Boom! I hear it and feel the percussion of the exploding bombs. I'm trying not to get sick. I look at my 13-year-old son and I think I'll never forgive myself if something happens to him.
That's an excerpt from a speech I gave to the Orange County Jewish Bar Association. It was the first, but not the last time we had to run to a bomb shelter. Our adventure and my transformation is also the subject of my book, Blasted from Complacency, A Journey from Terror to Transformation in Israel. There is no chapter in a parenting book on what to do when a war starts and you're on a family vacation. Think touring extraordinary and sacred sites mixed with cowering in bomb shelters. I'm still trying to get over the Jewish guilt of taking my son to war for his bar mitzvah present. The impact of being human targets helped me understand the plight of Israelis living like this, and it also made me want to work on peace. How Israel is often described on the news is not what I'd seen with my own eyes. And I felt Palestinian parents also preferred their children playing safely in their backyards. The missiles exploded just near enough to blow apart my world as I knew it, forever changing me. And you'd never recognize my life today with what it was like then. I believe I found my life's purpose. Happy New Year! I'm Penny ST, and I'm the host of Peace with Penny. And we're excited to bring you the first episode of Peace with Penny in 2024. At the end of January, we'll be celebrating 3 years of bringing good news to your attention between Israelis and Palestinians. We are the platform that lets people know there is hope for peace. In fact, there have been pockets of peace for years, but you have to know where to look. And Peace with Penny is happy to share the stories of the essential peace work that these organizations provide. In today's episode of Peace with Penny, we have the pleasure of speaking with Yehuda Stolov of Interfaith Encounter Association, or IEA. The IEA provides hope and works to build bridges between Jews, Muslims, Christians, and others based on tradition and culture without any political agenda. We spoke originally a little over a year ago, and lots has happened since, recovering from COVID, and especially now given the attacks on October 7th. The IEA was founded 22 years ago, has 126 groups, has hosted 4,700 events and encounters, and has 4,000 people participate each year. From the Upper Galilee to Eilat, are you surprised to hear that Israelis and West Bank Palestinians meet on a regular basis? Within the groups, participants have meaningful exchanges which bring them closer to each other. Prejudice, hostility, and suspicion are transformed into direct relationships, mutual respect, and friendships. Dr. Yehuda Stolov is the executive director of the Interfaith Encounter Association. He has lectured on the role of religious dialogue in peace building throughout the world, including Jordan, India, Indonesia, Turkey, South Korea, North America, and Europe. He also has published many papers on related issues. Yehuda has also received many awards for his work. In 2006, he was awarded the Immortal Chaplains Foundation Prize for Humanity, which honors those who risked all to protect others of a different faith or ethnic origin. And in 2015, he was awarded the IIE Victor J. Goldberg Prize for Peace in the Middle East. Later, we'll talk about his most recent award, Israel's 2022 Presidential Award for Volunteerism. He holds a bachelor's and master's of science in physics and a PhD from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem. And he's married, and he's a father of 3 children living in Jerusalem. It's safe to say he's a very busy man. So, welcome, Yehuda.
Thank you very much. It's good to be back, and thank you for inviting me again.
Well, your work is extremely important. And how would you describe Interfaith Encounter Association?
I think you described it very, very well. I mean, it's a way to build a peace bottom up through individuals that relate to communities and building bridges first between the individuals participating, but then between the communities. Because when we have a group of people meeting from two communities, it gives the opportunity for others from both communities to join the encounter. And this happens thanks to the fact that we are working long term. So our longest working group is working for 20 years, and we have maybe 8 or 10 groups that are working more than 10 years.
Wonderful. I wanted to read to you the Interfaith Encounter Association's mission statement so we can get a little bit better understanding of what they're all about. It says, the Interfaith Encounter Association is dedicated to promoting real coexistence and human peace in the Holy Land and the Middle East through cross-cultural study and interreligious dialogue. We believe that rather than being the cause of the problem, religion can and should be a source of solution for conflicts that exist in the region and beyond. We do not believe in the blending of all traditions into one undifferentiated group, but in providing a table where all can come and sit in safety and ease while being fully who they are in their respective religions. So, Yehuda, would you care to comment a bit about that?
Yeah, so I think there are two elements there. One is that we use religion as a bridge. Religion is very powerful, and I know that often uh, peace initiatives try to avoid religion because they think it's the source of stubbornness and inability to compromise and things like that. But I think it's a wrong perception, and religion is a very powerful force. And if it is not used in a positive way, it might be used in a negative way. So first, ignoring religion is not a good idea. And second, I think that religion has several characteristics that make it a better peace building medium than other approaches. It allows, from our perspective, the most important is that it reveals similarities between the different traditions. And equally, or even more important, is that within the framework of interreligious conversations, it is possible for everyone, even for people who are very new to dialogue, to accommodate differences and use them as something that makes the conversation more interesting and not threatening the conversation. And through that, people train themselves to develop friendships with people they disagree with, which is the real challenge we are facing. The element that is stressed there is that it is not about, sometimes interfaith dialogue has this problem that we try only to focus on what we have in common, and you get out of dialogue and you don't understand why this one religion have different names because they all say the same thing about everything, which obviously is not the case. We think that it is important for everyone to be able to fully express themselves, herself or himself, in whatever they believe. Sometimes there are disagreements between people from within the same religion because everyone experiences his religion or tradition or culture or whatever. Whatever name you want to call it, in a different way. And it is not about studying about the religion like reading an encyclopedia. It's about people relating to each other, engaging in real conversation, deep conversations with each other.
Yeah, it's a bit interesting. I know in other groups that I speak with who have both secular and religious Jews and Palestinians, quite often both the religious Palestinians and the religious Jews understand each other better than, say, for instance, the secular, well, really the secular Jews and the religious Jews even. It all works if you
Yes.
try to make it work. I wanted to show this clip.
For as long as most people alive today can remember, there has never been a lasting peace in the Middle East. For almost 2 decades, the Interfaith Encounter Association has been dedicated to promoting peace in the Middle East through interfaith dialogue.
We've got to somehow figure out a way to have two populations that are willing to live with each other. And the only way to do that is to get everybody involved. So what we try to do is say that, well, if religion has been part of the problem, then it's got to also be part of the solution.
The IEA maintains dozens of ongoing encounter groups from Malat to Eilat. These include women's groups, religious groups, educators, healthcare professionals, youth, teen, young adults, and many more.
Our aim is, one, to bring as many as we can of people from different confessions, religions, to sit together in a respectful and peaceful atmosphere to discuss in a peaceful way and a respectful way.
I do this for my kids, my children, not for myself.
And once you get the chance to meet a group, even a small group of 5 or 10 people from the other community, and you have a real conversation with them, this experience changes your the way you relate to the other.
Our vision is of a society in which the otherness of the other is not only accepted, but truly understood and respected.
So, Yehuda, is there anything you'd like to add to that?
There was in the clip another point that is important for us, which is that we want to include everyone in the conversation. If you want to build peace bottom up through the civil society, you have to include everyone. It cannot be only certain group of people meeting a certain group of people. We want to have among the Jews, the religious, the non-religious, the secular, the traditional, the ultra-Orthodox, the right-wing, the left-wing, the old, the young, everyone. The same with the Palestinian society, Islamists, secular people, whoever. The idea is to include everyone and build frameworks that for everyone that will be tailored for them, so they will feel comfortable in.
Now that there's the Israel-Hamas war going on, are you able to meet?
Yes. I mean, we have 3 types of groups that are not meeting. One type is, the biggest type is groups of that include Israelis and West Bank Palestinians, in which, for various reasons, the Palestinians are unable to meet online. So they are just waiting for the closure to end and the return of the entry permits.
Have their internet been turned off?
No, but sometimes they don't have good enough internet, and sometimes they are concerned that someone will take a screenshot and bring it to the wrong places and they will get into trouble.
Right.
So many groups are like that. I must say that it is a new development in this violent cycle that we have 3 groups that include West Bank Palestinians that are meeting online. Some of them over Zoom, some of them over WhatsApp video, but they are meeting online, they're meeting regularly. Another type of group that doesn't meet and hopefully will right now renew encounters are groups that are focused on university campuses. The
Oh,
university year only started when is it, like 3 days ago. So hopefully they will renew. I mean, they're already working on it. And there is a small group of groups that I think include maybe 2 groups that are reluctant to meet because of what happened on October 7th. And we are working on that too.
so who is able to meet? What types of
But
groups
most of
are?
the groups are meeting. More than like between 20 and 30 groups are meeting
Can
already.
you
Some of
describe them? Because your groups are all varied. You have many different types of groups. Can you
yes.
describe a little bit?
Yes, so we have groups within Israel that are within the Green Line that are meeting. We have groups in Jerusalem that are meeting. Uh, One of those include the West Bank Palestinians, so they are kind of hybrid. Those who are in Jerusalem can meet in person, and they open a Zoom channel for those who are in the West Bank. We have what other types of groups that we have? Groups that are as I said, groups in the universities are now starting planning to meet. We have even one
Are
group.
the universities as horrible uh, in terms of what's going on there over there as they are in the US? I mean, here
No,
it's
no,
just horrific.
yeah, it's terrible. Yeah. And I think here people have more the sense of the need to build bridges. I mean, there are people, it's not their lives, so they can go to a demonstration, feel good with themselves, and they did nothing, but it's not their lives at stake. Here, it's our lives. So
Yes.
I think many understand the need to build bridges.
Yes.
Uh,
Isn't that unfortunate that the folks who are really living it are actually more peace oriented
yes,
than people thousands of miles away who
yes,
many of them don't even know what, from the river to the sea means.
yes,
You know,
yeah, yeah.
it's
They
it's
don't know where the
unfortunate.
river is and where the sea.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm excited to share this slide that you have these new Interfaith Talks series. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, so we started that when in the very beginning of the war, when we were not sure how long it will take for groups to resume activity, and uh, so on the one hand, the idea was to provide an opportunity for people who do want to meet and their groups are not meeting, and on the other hand, to provide hope for people who are in different parts of the country or even different parts of the world, that it is possible to continue talking even today, and these encounters happen. And these talks share about experiences, including since the war started, about what people did, how they managed to maintain conversations and continue building the relations. Now I mean, it's less needed because most of the groups have gone back to activity, but there are people abroad who I think it is interesting for them to see. I mean, it is a special format in which there are usually, I mean, until now there was 3 speakers in each of the 2 episodes that already occurred. and there's a third one coming, I think also with three speakers. And the three speakers sit together in the same room, so they're not joining through Zoom, they're
Mm.
sitting together in the same room, so they're talking to each other. They're not
Mhm.
only each giving their own presentation. And it does attract many people from different places. And our aim is to try and leverage the audience of this series into an ongoing online group that will meet regularly once a
Mhm.
month like other groups.
Very, very cool. In your various groups, are they divided according to whether they're men or women, or do you have combined groups? How does that work?
So most of the groups are mixed, and some of the groups that are mixed in principle, sometimes they become only male groups, and we have special groups for women because women have it comes from different directions. In one direction is that women hopefully often feel more comfortable to to speak to other women. It's possible for them to go into more intimate exchange. And also there are some cultural factors
Hmm.
that in some communities, if men and women come together, the men speak and the women keep silence. So if you want
Yeah.
the women to speak, you have to get rid of the men. So this is
Whoops.
at
Uh,
least temporarily.
yeah, yeah. So how do people get involved? How do you reach the different interfaith communities?
So mostly it's a word of mouth. People already participate, share with their friends and family and work colleagues and people they know. Um, right now we are starting a bigger project that will have a communication component that will enable us to publicize more intensively on mostly I think on social media, but maybe
Hmm.
also in other ways. And a third way is like this program that we are now in, because hopefully your audience will become involved and look up our website and write to us and join encounters.
And so uh, I think you should make that very clear that people are welcome from anywhere and that they don't have to be over there in person.
Yes. I mean, first we have this group that we hope to establish that will be online, so people can join from wherever they are. Um, we have also, our main focus is in the Holy Land, and in the Holy Land we have a
Mhm.
few dozens of active groups, but we also have a few groups abroad,
Hmm.
uh, where people thought that our model will be a good platform for them to meet each other, and are using it. So we have right now we have two active groups in North America, one in New Jersey, one in Washington, D.C. So people can join these as well if they're around.
Terrific. How would you describe the supporters of your group? Who helps you provide all of this?
So this is how do you say, a sensitive question
Oh,
because
okay.
I mean, unfortunately, I spend too much of my time uh, raising the funds needed
Mm,
to run the organization, and this has been the biggest obstacle that we had to having more activity.
right.
Um, th- Things on that front improved lately, so hopefully we will be able to do much more in the coming years. It varies from individuals who give, like
Mm-hmm.
$100,
Mm-hmm.
$1,000, something like that,
Mm-hmm.
to foundations and foundation-like organizations for like a church organization or a family foundation or the European Union or USAID.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
Wonderful. How do you get around the language barrier between the Israelis and the Palestinians? The fact that Palestinians speak Arabic, although obviously, if they're in Israel or around Israel, they often speak Hebrew as well, but that still remains an issue. So, what do you do about that?
So practically, if you talk about the groups that include people from within the Green Line, we use Hebrew. The Arabs have very good Hebrew. The Jews usually do not have Arabic. One case, we had a group that was working for 12 years and was meeting in Arabic. But this is an exception. We have also one, right now we have an Israeli-Palestinian group with Palestinians from the West Bank that uses Arabic. But again, these are the exceptions.
Right.
Then if you talk about groups that bring together Jerusalemites or Israelis and West Bank Palestinians, they divide into two ways. In one way, they all have good enough English, so English will be the language in which everyone feels equally uncomfortable with and they can work with. In other cases where some of the people do not have good enough English, usually in these cases there will be some of the people who know both Hebrew and Arabic and can translate. It slows the conversation, but for these participants, it enables the conversation.
Interesting. So, one of the things that you do have are different events, and you have weekend retreats. So, what happens on a weekend retreat?
So on a weekend retreat, we come together typically on Friday at some point. We start with a session of introduction where people get to know each other, some icebreakers, a biographical introduction, other ways to introduce people to each other. Then we have, for each retreat, we have a theme with 3 sessions during the weekend, each dedicated to a different religion, focusing on discussing the theme from within this religion. On top of that, we have prayer sessions where people pray their usual prayers, but with explaining to people from other traditions. We have the meals together, which is very, very important. People, sit together, eat, have informal conversations. I mean, the whole, even the sessions are informal. That we try very much to make the atmosphere as informal and as casual and as friendly as possible. But during the meal, it's always more informal. And then we have on Friday night we have a social session. So takes different forms. Sometimes people sing together, dance, share stories, share jokes. So again, it connects people, and all of these components together contribute to building this intensive and positive experience.
What's the atmosphere like between when they first arrive and then at the end?
I mean, it is visible, the change people go through. You can see people sitting in the first meal. You can see people sitting at different tables. You can see 2 distinct groups, and then you can see them physically mixing with each other, sitting next to each other, sometimes staying after we end or at night, staying in long conversations into the night.
Hmm. It's really quite amazing, I think, that just having a place where they can talk and all of the propaganda they've heard all their lives disappears and they realize there's so much that they're similar. They're just human. They're just human. And I know sometimes in the peace world, dialogue is looked at as, wine and hummus kind of thing, and not a big deal. It's essential. It opens the door,
Yes.
and it's really beautiful to see. It always just proves we're just all human. We all want to live safely. Teenagers are a drag for parents. Whatever it is, we go through the same kinds of things. So,
Yeah, I would say that, I mean, if it's only hummus, then the criticism is correct. But if the conversation goes deep, then people really build connections, build relations, build a different image of the other. There's a nice phrase that I like to quote from Rabbi Jonathan Sachs, the late
yeah,
Rabbi Sachs, who about a year before he died, he gave a TED talk about talking to people who are not like you. So he
yeah,
had this very nice phrase that says, when you talk to people who are not like you discover they are people like you.
yeah, exactly. Exactly. So here we have a slide of a couple of interfaith encounters. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, so this is the main thing that we do. Groups, ongoing groups of interfaith encounters, groups that meet ideally at least once a month, sometimes more, sometimes less, but sometimes there are limitations. Um, and they build relations over time, not only between the people who participate, but also between the communities they are coming from, because of the ongoing nature. Um, anyway, people have the opportunity to share their experience with other people, get their interest, and draw them to join themselves. And we see this as a
Sorry.
process, not as something that is passive.
And here's the women's side of things.
Yes.
You mentioned that sometimes what they're talking about could be a bit different. You want to talk a little bit more details about that? Obviously, they can talk deeply about subjects about peace and so on, but I suspect they also have a bit of fun as well. Do they talk about cooking or things like that? Can you talk about some of the subjects that come up in their groups, not necessarily in the men's group?
So I cannot know all everything that comes up in these groups because I'm not present there because
Right,
I'm not a woman.
right.
Uh, I can say that we have two groups in the Negev bringing together Bedouin women and Jewish women. Then sometimes there are also issues of that relate to women in health issues,
Mm,
kind of trainings and
mm,
exchanges. Sometimes they just talk about their lives and their difficulties in lives. I mean, the challenges they are facing that are often common to women in every society.
hmm.
Uh, and also, as you mentioned, I think they feel more loose. You can sometimes I hear that they dance, they sing together, things like that. That they will not do in mixed in a mixed encounter.
Yeah. And the kids, the youth interfaith encounters, what are they like?
Uh, yeah, so uh, if we talk about youth, it may be composed of three age groups. On the primary school age group between, let's say, 6 and 12, we had only one group, but it was working for a long time, I think 14 or 15 years.
Wow.
bringing together two primary schools in the Galilee. You can watch a film on our website.
Mm.
Then the teens age group, we had altogether 4 or 5 such groups. Currently, one of them is active, focusing on either Model UN or other um, meetings with diplomats, learning about issues that are within this realm of diplomacy and
Mm.
international relations. So a bit less interface, more of this. We had in the past also a music group, people who teens who were playing together, and we had two groups that were pairing high school students. Then the next age level, in different times in our history, this was the biggest group of groups, but
Oh,
people who are in the kind of university age, early 20s, maybe
yeah.
sometimes late 20s. Uh, but some of them are still active, but the problem with youth is that they don't stay young forever. So
Tell me about it. So, are you involved at all with any school districts?
right now, no, we don't. I mean, these schools that we had in both cases, there is one school that is still interested, and another school where the person who was pushing it moved to another place, and no, it's not. But we keep our eyes and ears open for
Mhm.
more opportunities to revive this type of activity.
Yeah. What have you heard from the kids uh, in terms of, are they easier to fall into comfort with one another than the adults, or what do you see?
Not always, not always. I
No?
think the dynamics is very similar in all
Mm.
types of groups. People come more, how do you say, I forgot the word. Um,
Hesitant?
Hesitant, yes, maybe hesitant, not so confident, not
Yeah.
sure what they can
Yeah.
say, what they cannot say,
What's going to happen?
what's going to
Yeah.
happen. Will the conversation go smooth, or will there be conflict? And sometimes you can see by the end of the first encounter that they are over all of those.
Mhm.
Sometimes it takes 2 or 3 encounters, but I think it depends more on the individual personalities of those who participate than on their social group labeling.
What are these parents like who send their kids to such a experience?
I don't know. I mean, when
Hmm.
we talk, I mean, we're in conversation with the school. But right now in this project that I mentioned, this big project, there will be some element of teens coming together where they will
Mm.
need the parents' permission and also
Mhm.
participation of the parents, because in this project we are aiming uh, to lead video making workshops.
Oh,
So
how cool.
yeah, so the idea is that the teens will come because they want to acquire
Right.
the skills trained by a professional filmmaker,
Mhm.
but then they will have a
Oh, can
community
I
of
come?
learners. Yeah,
That's
yeah,
that often in many of the peace organizations, there's another motivation that brings them together.
yes,
Uh, and it happens to be attended by both Israelis and Palestinians, which is perhaps what the organization primarily wants
yes,
to focus on, but the people who are coming, um, that's a secondary thing, maybe a nuisance to some,
yes, yes.
but ultimately it works out really great.
Yeah, so that's the idea, to recruit people who will not come if we invite them to meet the
Right,
other,
right.
but they will come because they want to acquire the skills. Then finally they will have community screening in which they will invite their family and neighbors and whoever they want to show off with the fruits of the skills they learned.
Hmm.
And hopefully through that, the parents will also connect. Or it's a new initiative, and we hope it will be successful.
I was curious. I was thinking about the folks who are actually involved in the war right now and who might have been participants in your groups. Do you have any groups that talk about the war now and what each side is going through because of it?
So officially not, but I mean officially we focus on the subjects, but for sure people share their experiences. I think especially among groups of people who already met and
Hmm.
they know
Hmm.
each other, it comes out totally in a totally different way because
Hmm.
people share their experience. They share even if the anxieties, their fears, their maybe
Yeah,
anger, but they share it with friends.
yeah.
And sometimes it's especially meaningful for people to share it with people from the other
Sure,
community.
sure, sure. Because well, I often say the whole area, everybody's got PTSD. And I'm not sure that I don't either from, I don't think I've ever gotten over 2014. So when we were there. So it's it's a very ugly situation, very frightening and lethal. And having to deal with that is not anything any of us want to go through. So here we've got some dialogue sessions.
So we actually talked about that, about the I mean, about the Israeli-Palestinian groups. Maybe I didn't mention that thanks to our apolitical nature, we also have groups of settlers and Palestinians.
Yeah. Like, do people from Roots participate?
We had two groups in cooperation with Roots, but both of them are currently inactive.
Mm.
But we have a group in the Hebron area, in the Nablus area, in the Ma'ale Adumim area, in the northern Jordan Valley. So we have groups in different places.
Do the mixed cities have a tendency to have groups?
I mean, not in our case because we
Oh,
don't.
okay.
I mean, not because of any good reason, but because we didn't come across the right people who will take it forward.
I see.
Except in actually two places. There's a very old group of women in Haifa that is working for, I don't know, 17, 18 years, something like that. And another group in Jaffa that came immediately after the events in May 21.
Oh,
Yeah. And it's going on very, very well. It's growing, it's meeting regularly, it builds relations, real relations between Jews and Muslims and Christians.
excellent. So we have here some testimonials I want to read of things that people who've attended said. And this woman with a interesting name, I know it's hard to pronounce,
Mufida
says,
Kabaja.
of course. Bless you. We're not, she says, we are not so different. My name is, can you,
Mufida Kabaja.
okay. I joined IEA 5 years ago. I'm part of a group in Hebron made of 20 people. We talk about different topics such as holidays or children. People can be afraid of the other if they don't know him or her. In this group, we can change our mind by learning about each other. And in the end, we are not so different. And then here, this gentleman, We are sisters and brothers fighting together for peace. I joined IEA 10 years ago. What I enjoyed the most? The friendship we have as a group. These encounters are a great way of learning from the other without stereotypes. I really feel we are sisters and brothers fighting together for peace. We discuss different themes, we learn from each other's religions and traditions, and we also visit places together. I have many moving and joyful memories of our activities together. So these are just a couple testimonials. Do you have some favorite stories of things that have happened throughout the years?
Maybe I can share one. I mean, by the way, we have more testimonies on the website. People
Yeah, I'm
are
sure.
welcome to read them. I think a nice story that illustrates the process many new people go through um, has to do with a group that was meeting at the time at the Everest Hotel, which is on the outskirts of Bejala. And it's a group that brings together mostly Jews from the south part of Jerusalem, Muslims from a village near Hebron, and sometimes, not always, but sometimes Christians from the Bethlehem area. And the Jewish coordinator of the group, um, he, he he has a very good friend that he tries for years to convince to try it out once, and he is very prejudiced, this friend, so he's very reluctant. Uh, Finally, he's both convinced and finds the right time and are driving on the way to the Everest Hotel. But before you reach the hotel, there are a few houses of Bejala. So he stops the car, turns to the other guy, and says, "Give me one reason why I shouldn't turn around and go back home." So the coordinator thinks for a minute and gives him a brilliant answer. He says, "Because if you continue, then you can say that what you think about them is correct." Uh, so it was he was convinced. He drove the 1 minute or so that remained. He met the people of the other group, and he never stopped coming. So
Wonderful.
I mean, I think for many people join because they're curious.
Mhm.
They're very prejudiced. They don't think there's a chance to build relations, to build peace. Um, but at the same time, they're curious at the opportunity to have a real conversation with someone from the other community. And
Yeah,
then they come and then they discover that the other is human like them.
exactly. It's trust me, I've had in my own family conversations that they think I'm crazy. And they're, what are you doing? What do you mean? Why are you wasting your time? There's never going to be peace there. And I say, if you ever would listen to any of my interviews, you'd see that there is peace there today.
Right,
It's in
exactly.
pockets. It's in
Yeah,
pockets. It's in
exactly.
places. But unfortunately, the only thing you see on the news is, like the old expression, if it bleeds, it leads. So, and there's unfortunately
Yeah.
a lot of that now. But there is peace. And my goal is to get your voices out, heard at least as much as the fools who decide to kill each other. So, uh, but yeah, I I run and it's horrible because it kills hope. And Peace with Penny is the exact opposite. To be able to listen to all these different people, organizations, comprised usually of both Israelis and Palestinians who work on peace together. And, it's really interesting the different ways that they do it. It could be environment or music or art or interfaith, like you folks or scientists, and the unique opportunities that are afforded for them to go to the group. And then, oh, you know, you're Israeli. Oh, they're Palestinian, but they know and are interested in what I like. It's absolutely beautiful. And I love every second I spend on it. Next, I wanted to ask you about what is this, the Middle East Abrahamic Forum?
So this is something that is not currently active. It
Ah,
requires a lot of funding. Um, so I think it's already 8 or 9 years since the last conference. But we used to have conferences that brought together people from organizations that are working with religion or religious inspiration on social issues. We had them in the regulars were Palestinians and Jordanians and Egyptians, and then we had Lebanese joining. We had one or two times people from Iran. We had people from Morocco, people from Tunisia, from Algeria. So it was a very, very nice gathering, which resulted in many interesting things. For example, I have a very, very strong friendship with a guy from Egypt that when I got to know him, he was one of the high leaders of the Muslim Brotherhood,
oh
or
my, oh my.
or
Wow,
an organization from Lebanon that we once submitted a project proposal together. Uh,
amazing,
yeah.
amazing. Wow, that's really something. Oh, you want to explain the organization that you were referring to in case somebody doesn't know?
And the Muslim Brotherhood is an organization that started, I think, in the 20s in Egypt. Um, it's maybe the cradle of the Islamism that is now on. I mean, it is usually a non-violent organization, but for example, Hamas is their Palestinian branch,
Hmm.
so sometimes they can get also violent, but mostly their focus is in how do you say, like inviting people to be inviting Muslims to become more observant, more
Hmm.
knowledgeable of Quran, more strict on performing the commandments and so on.
Oh, well, I guess my knowledge of them is more connected to the terrorist side of them, unfortunately.
Yeah.
So when you
So
said
I think
the,
this is the exception. I mean,
oh,
mostly
really?
they're involved in what is called in Islam da'wah, in inviting people to join. Also, you know,
Hmm.
the Palestinian branch, until the formation of Hamas, there was a Palestinian branch. I'm not sure how long before, but way before Hamas was established, it was also non-violent. It was also involved in da'wah and in social action. But in 1987, Sheikh Ahmed Yassin took over and he created it like what it is today.
Hmm. Well, you also, because you've done such great work, have been studied by different academic research
Something
places.
it's very important for us. So whenever we are asked, we cooperate. We had until now mostly several researches that were done by Bar Ilan University in Israel, one with DePaul University, one with Berkeley University, and several other universities. But whenever the research is focused solely on the IEA, we publish it the results on or the paper itself on our website. So if
Hmm.
you go to our homepage and scroll down, you will see 6 or 7 of such research works.
And off the top of your head, can you let us know some kinds of things that they found about the groups?
So generally, they find that that the encounters do improve the attitude towards the other, um, and sometimes they manage to also conclude that it's lasting, the change. It has some effect on on social circles of participants, but it is much lower. So from our perspective, the conclusion is that we need to do more encounters and leverage the interest that is raised in other people for them to join actually encounters, because just hearing about them is not enough. They need to participate themselves.
Right. Do you find that once they participate, what percentage continue?
That's a good question. We didn't have the means to
Hmm.
follow up on that, but I would say a large percentage of the people who try it out continue for, let's say, at least a year.
Terrific, terrific. But then you've also mentioned that you've got groups that have been around for very, very long time, many, many
Yeah,
years.
I mean, the last I counted, we had 16 groups that worked more than 10 years. Some of them stopped after 12 years, after 15
Mm,
years, things like that. But 8 of those are still active.
yeah. Well, it could be family commitments too. They've been around so long. Uh, um, I wanted to congratulate you on this award. Can you talk about your incredible award here, the Presidential Award from Israel for
Yes,
volunteerism?
yes. This was really a very important event of recognition. So we were chosen to get the 2022 the Presidential Award for Voluntarism, and we were able to invite a large group of our coordinators. I think there were more than 30 of our coordinators that came to the president's residence and attended the ceremony. It was very moving, very. We got a lot of exposure on that. But I mean, already at that point, um, it was a very strong support um, moment for the coordinators that are recognized for all the hard work they are doing for, as I said, sometimes for decades, but for years. But then it also uh, uh, got the attention of the president, so he invited me to tell him more about the activity. This is the
Wow.
picture from where we met, and at his chambers, and 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 now he is aware of us. So, for example, I asked him for a support letter, so he wrote for us a very, very nice support letter,
Wow.
uh, which I use I mean,
Sure.
introduce IEA for people, for new people.
Hmm. Yeah, that's terrific. So, what would you consider are some of your greatest accomplishments after all these years?
Uh, I think maybe first of all the scope of the activity, the fact that we are able to bring people who do not attend other peace initiatives, people who are either more religious or more right wing or settlers or Islamists that are less feel, may at least I don't know if they are less welcome, but they feel less welcome in other places.
Hmm.
Then also the scope of activity in terms of magnitude. We had, as you mentioned in the beginning, we established 126 groups. Around 40 of them are currently active. We have around 450 encounters a year, and this number is growing. We have
Yeah,
until
you know
now.
what? We haven't really talked a lot, but you have holiday celebrations that seem so interesting. You want to talk about the iftar or other big holiday celebrations that you do have?
So, I mean, the only one is the iftar, but we have three annual encounters that are um, aimed to bring together larger audiences, either bring together people from different groups that will meet each other and learn more about not only personally but also about the way each group works, and also be like an opportunity for new people to experience IEA. So one of them is what you mentioned, the iftar dinner that we do every year. It is, I mean, it is run informally, so people sit together in the table, they eat the food, and they talk to each other. Sometimes with nice music, sometimes they dance, but it's their own initiative. We have once a year something that we are doing since I think 2015 or something like that, which we call the Day of Interfaith Encounter. We kind of celebrate the organization together. So we bring people from different groups, but also, as I said, also new people, and they sit together in circles, mixed between the groups. So they share about the work, the way each of them is working, who is involved, what are they talking about, are they doing other things together as a group, and so on. And the third one is something relatively new. It started just before Corona. It never really took off. We had a few, but we need to strengthen it. We are doing it together with the Film Center. In December this year, we couldn't. Um, but hopefully next year we will work on it again. It's an evening of interfaith singing that
Oh,
is inspired by the Christian um, um, choral singing events. But this is not choral singing, it's interfaith. So we have Jewish songs and Muslim songs and Christian songs.
oh, how beautiful.
Yeah.
That's, I'm sure, something to look forward to for
Yes.
sure. All of your work is just, it's so needed, so essential, and really, really beautiful. I want to thank you for your time today. I hope people will look into what Interfaith Encounters Association is all about. We all need to make efforts to help people understand each other, and those are the first steps. So thanks again. Next week on August 16th, we'll be speaking with Dr. Abu Ross of the Abraham Initiatives. The Abraham Initiatives is a Jewish Israeli and Palestinian Israeli organization that advances social inclusion and equal rights for Israel's Palestinian citizens by influencing public policy, shaping public policy, and demonstrating practical models for a shared society. They envision Israel as a democratic state, homeland of the Jewish people and all its citizens, that guarantees and protects the full citizenship and equal rights of its Palestinian citizens, where Jewish and Palestinian Israelis co-create a cohesive, inclusive society, and that exists peacefully alongside an independent, sovereign Palestinian state. And for now, we hope that this year will soon bring good news, that all the hostages will be returned and the war will end. And may you live in peace, shalom, and salam.